Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. A very big piece of news in college football on Wednesday night. And that is when we found out the recently retired Nick Saban. I don't think any of us thought that he was just going to disappear and play golf and do whatever it is retired people do. I don't even know what they do. Probably not going to be me for a long time. But anyway, I think we all kind of knew Nick Saban was really going to retire. And so I only bring it up because on Wednesday, we found out what Nick Saban's next chapter is going to be. He is going to be a College Gameday co-host. This is not surprising. This is basically like, I feel like we've been talking about Nick Saban eventually going to College Gameday once he retires for like 10 years. I think I saw a quote from Kirk Herbstreit in like 2016 that was basically like, yeah, when I expect Nick Saban to be on a College Gameday desk more than I believe he'll ever coach in the NFL again. This was when there were thoughts that Nick Saban could potentially go to the NFL. So this isn't surprising. I do want to talk about it really quickly because I will say, like, I don't think the interesting part is Saban himself. I do think the interesting part is who they're going to put around him, what the group is going to look like, what the team is going to look like. Talk about all that in a minute. Now, in terms of how I think Saban's going to do, I think he's going to be awesome. And I think the only thing you need to know about why Saban is going to be awesome is basically was said in the ESPN press release. ESPN president Jimmy Pitaro said this about Nick Saban. Nick Saban is a singular, iconic presence in college football. He is also an extremely gifted communicator who will immediately add even more credibility, authority, and entertainment value to ESPN, including our esteemed Game Day show. So look, we all know Nick Saban's an icon, but I thought the second part was important. He is an extremely gifted communicator who will immediately add credibility, authority, and entertainment value to ESPN. So listen, you don't need me to tell you that Nick Saban's a good communicator. But that to me is why I'm so excited to have Nick Saban on Game Day. Every single time that we have heard him talk about pretty much anything of any relevance, he's kind of incredible at it. And it obviously started, you know, when he was a head coach, like when he'd go to the podium and he'd be passionate about my team's not playing well. We need more discipline. We need more accountability. We need more structure. And you kind of just heard him go on those speeches off the top of his head that were total rants, but were probably a little pre-planned. You're like, my goodness, this guy is smart. You know, my buddy Clay Travis has said this for years. Like, we wasted Nick Saban's intelligence as a football coach. Like, he should have been doing something much more important and impacting the world more than drawing up, you know, cover two defenses. So he's always been great at communicating what he wants to say. But more importantly to me, why I think Saban is going to work on College Gameday, he clearly very much cares about the health of college football. And it's funny, right? Because we always, I guess what I would say with Saban is this, is when he was coaching, every time he spoke out about a topic, there was the national media that doesn't really understand college football versus the national media that does. And what would Nick Saban always say? He'd always say something to the effect of, is this what you want college football to be? Whether it was how offenses were run 10, 12 years ago, whether it was the transfer portal, unlimited transfers, NIL. And every time he spoke out about something, you know, the national media that doesn't cover college football would sit there and say, oh, Saban's just mad because the transfer portal means that he's not going to be able to build super teams. NIL means he's not going to be able to build super teams. You know, these offenses mean that he's going to be irrelevant. Well, he figured out offenses with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian and all those guys. I think he did pretty well in the transfer portal with Jamison Williams coming in and all the guys that he brought in through the years. Don't think it and by the way, I don't think it ever negatively impacted him since his last season. He won the SEC and went to the college football playoff. So I think he genuinely cares about the sport. I think he has a genuine interest in leaving it better than it is. And I think he has a genuine interest in helping us get to the quote unquote finish line on the big topics. And it's been interesting because Greg Sankey has done a bunch of interviews this week about like, we're just not where we need to be. We're not where we need to be on the big issues that matter in college football. And we know what they are. NIL, portal, all that. No one's anti-portal. No one's anti-NIL. I have yet to hear any prominent person in college sports say, I don't like NIL. Let's go back to not paying players. But I think we all kind of understand you can't have NIL with the portal, with no rules, with no contracts, with no whatever, where players can leave whenever they want. They can demand whatever they want. If they don't get what they want, they can leave 3, 4, 5 times. Not only is that not good for college football, it's not good for the student athlete either. It's not good to go to 4 schools in 5 years, 4 schools in 4 years, 3 schools in 4 years. A lot of guys are leaving college without graduating, leaving college without their degrees. So Nick Saban really cares, and I think more importantly, he understands the issues. Now, what I will say about Saban on game day, this is the part that I do think is interesting, that I do think is worth discussing. What exactly is the group that's going to be around him? Because I'll just be honest, I don't know that, I don't know that we need the full desk with Corso, Fowler, or not Fowler, Reese Davis, Herb Street, Corso, Desmond Howard, Pat McAfee, and now Nick Saban. I don't think we need it. So I'll be curious what they do, because a couple things. One, not totally sure we need Desmond Howard at this point. And listen, I'm not the guy that loves to go after other media members. Now, guys that cross me, those losers on social media, you know who you are. Then I'll come back at you. I'll say something. You bother me enough, I'll say something. But for the most part, I like to stay out of stuff. It's whatever. But Desmond Howard literally brings nothing to College Game Day at this point, right? I get that he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I get that he has credibility. Guess what? You got a bunch of Heisman Trophy winners on your staff and on your payroll already. If it's really about having a Heisman Trophy winner, bring in RG3, bring in Tim Tebow. Like, Desmond Howard does not move the needle. As a matter of fact, he just drives people crazy. And I'll be curious what they do with McAfee. Like, listen, McAfee blocked me on social media. Okay. I think he's very talented. I think he's a great radio host. I think he's incredible on the WWE stuff. I think he just signed a new contract there. I don't know that we need him like on the desk for 4 hours breaking down, Iowa State, Kansas or whatever, as it feels like that's a Herb Street thing. That's a Reese Davis thing. That's maybe a Nick Saban thing, whatever. And then we'll see what happens with Lee Corso, man. Listen, it is, a Thursday at 6:21 Eastern time. I'm not here to just like bash Lee Corso. I don't know how to say this delicately. I don't know if we really need Lee Corso on the desk anymore. 88 years old. We know what's going on. We all wish him well. We all wish him health and happiness. I actually think it's probably a disservice to him to even have him on the desk. If you want to keep him around, do a headset pick, whatever, headgear pick, whatever. My dream desk, by the way, Herbie, Nick Saban, Reese Davis, have McAfee in the crowd, riling people up, doing kind of offbeat interviews, bring him to the desk maybe here and there. Let Nick Saban, what's the old saying the kids say? Let so-and-so cook. Just get Saban on the desk and let Nick Saban cook. That's my big takeaway on that. So Saban is going to game day. I think it's actually going to be really cool. I think it's going to be cool to have him around. I think it's kind of an interesting parallel, having him on one show, Urban Meyer on the other. Just interesting how those two careers have kind of the paths that they have taken. Obviously with Urban Meyer, multiple national championships, Nick Saban, multiple national championships. Feels like most people have one very distinct perception of Nick Saban versus Urban Meyer on the other. Anyway, I've talked long enough, but the bottom line remains, I am fired up to have Nick Saban on game day. I think it's going to add a ton to the show. I think McAfee definitely brought some juice to the show this year. I think Nick Saban is going to bring even more.